Hello, everyone in Facebook, and welcome to WTF Live. We're a little late today, but that's, part of the window treatment world and everything else. Things pop up, but we're still here. And this is episode number 25. And in today's episode,
Yay!
we're going to be covering, like I said on Instagram, one of my topics in the window treatment niche, which is hardware.
I can't wait.
So,
And again, thank you so much, everyone, for being patient with us.
yes.
Any other day, this is our episode number 25, and I think 24 of those we were on between 12 and 12:05 or so. We're trying to be very much on time. And today, I had an appointment that ran longer, and sometimes things like that happen. And then here's PSA for anyone on the main line in Philadelphia, where there's detour on Route 23 on Conshohocken Road. Follow the detour signs. Don't think you're smarter than the signs. Don't think your own GPS or Waze can get you out of it. Otherwise, you'll be like me, chasing my own tail 3 times, coming back to the same roads. So lessons learned. No more appointments Friday morning, and definitely listening to this, watching for the signs. But we're here, and we're super excited to talk to you about hardware. So
All right.
without further
Further
ado,
ado, here we
yes,
go.
I am bringing pictures up on Instagram. Here we are, and here we are on Facebook. Take it away, Kim.
Okay, so this is a project that we at WindowWorks did for Maureen Orsino of Orsino Interiors. And what I wanted to show with this is it is a French return rod, and you can't see it in this photo, but I wanted you to kind of get an overall
I
view
can bring
of
up the
the close up. Perfect.
close up.
So right here, what you can see is it's a French return rod that we had a window on the left and then a bigger window right in the center essentially. And Maureen wanted to connect the two windows together, but also wanted to use a French return rod. So we were able to do that because with the French return rods, we were able to use an elbow. And this particular corner was a 45 degrees, so it was, straight on corner. So, but we still used an elbow that had a little bit of flex in it.
Mhm.
I was trying to find if downstairs to see if we had any elbows in stock so I can show everybody instead of me just using hand gestures, but I don't have one, unfortunately.
But I
But
do know what
so
you mean. It
it's,
just kind of
yeah,
flexes
so
like that
it
and can
flexes
go.
like this so that this way it kind of gives you flexibility in terms of where you want to angle that rod. And with the French return, you do have that option of going around the corner. So we had the return on the left side of the window and then the right side of the other bank of windows there. So you're only getting the return on two ends, but it is wrapping the corner. And then we had one panel there that met them two together.
And the one tip that I can give our designers here is whenever you have an elbow return or
Application, yeah,
elbow bracket,
yeah,
make sure that you have account for two support brackets on each
correct.
side of that elbow.
Mm-hmm.
Because trust you me, I have made that mistake. You just think, one window, two brackets, one window, two brackets.
Yeah,
You just like you don't think of it somehow until you make that mistake. But that corner bracket, that elbow bracket,
yeah,
unless it's supported on both sides, it's just
it's just
going
gonna
to droop
fall.
down
Absolutely.
or it will collapse on itself.
It will
Exactly.
fall. So that's another thing too. I know drapery hardware is super complicated. So my advice always with the designers that I work with and the retail clients that I work with is just leave it up to the drapery experts because this is what we do all day, every day. When it comes to sourcing fabrics and things of that nature, yes, all day long. But when it comes to hardware, it's such a technical side of the window treatment business. Hey, Christy, on in Instagram, it's such a technical side of the business that like forgetting that bracket, like we've made these mistakes already. There's no need for you to make these mistakes. Like we've been there, we've done that. So
Leave
always
it to the
consult.
professional.
Yes, exactly.
Sounds good. All right. The next project is one of ours that I wanted to highlight. And the hardware that we're using here is called H Rail. H as in Harry dash rail. RAIL. H Rail. Uh, the company that produces this particular one is called Ona. This is a very economical. Oh, thank you so much, Kim. Yep,
I brought
very nice.
visuals today with this.
Good for you. I love it.
So this
Hey,
is the
Rose
H
on
rail.
Instagram. So So Aria is your most economical way to go. Other companies do also produce this type of hardware as well, and they're a little bit pricier with uh, slightly better quality components too, and better quality materials. So when do you use this type of hardware? You use it exactly, it's kind of exactly what it looks like. It's very clean, it's very sleek.
Hmm.
It doesn't have any rings, it doesn't have any frou-frous around about it. It's just it's a rail, just like Kim is showing. It's round, track inside, so again you can traverse your rods. The brackets, these particular brackets that actually Kim has on hers and what I have on this picture, they are like sort of more European looking, if you will. They're more modern, more contemporary looking. And something to keep in mind here, if you don't have a Billy like Kimberly does, or if you don't have the 12 years of on-site installation experience like I do, but you are doing your own measurements and your own deductions for the workroom that is strictly producing these
Hmm.
for you, you know what the bracket deduction is, which is the distance between the top of the bracket and the top of your drapery panel. That is the number of inches, could be 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches that you have to deduct from the total length that you've taken wall to ceiling. With A-trail, you have to be very careful because in order to secure this bracket onto the rod, that bolt is at the top of the bracket. So you have to leave at least half an inch, but preferably an inch, for a little wrench to get up to the top, and for the
Hmm.
installer to be able to twist it around or turn it around and secure it in place. Because if you've only calculated enough deduction from the top of the bracket, his or hers, but mostly his fingers will just not be able to get there, and that little Allen wrench will not be able to fit in either. Again, mistake that was made by moi. So now you know.
Well, now with these rods too, they have a very flush mount, and again, I don't have one, sorry, but they have a flush mount ceiling clip that if you are that close to the ceiling, just go all the way up to the ceiling and we can clip it in, and we put that bracket in first and then we clip the rod. Like you can see that there's a channel right
Hmm.
here, and you can clip the rod right into from the channel right into the bracket. So I mean, don't leave those like little inches of space. That's go up,
If
attach
that's
it
what
to
you
the
can do,
ceiling.
if you can take
Yeah,
it all the way to the ceiling, by all means do so.
yeah,
But you have any kind of other obstructions and you can't quite, then just be careful about the
yes.
deductions.
And especially when it's especially like that spacing between top of moldings and whatnot, those are all things that you have to kind of keep in mind when you're sourcing your drapery hardware, because we
Hmm.
have run into situations where there was a big crown molding, and between the bottom of the crown molding and the top of the window frame we have about an inch. And if you can see, if you go back to that slide, the back plate on like a traverse rod like that, it's about like 2 inches, so that's not fitting up there. So then it becomes a further discussion of what kind of bracket will fit there. We've had to make like custom back plates on things and
Hmm.
get really creative in order to fit that.
Yep, agreed. Same here.
Okay, so this particular installation, this was done for Richard Carpenter, and this project was out in Long Island. And I wanted to show you, this was Fabricant, and this was a custom color rod. So
It's very,
it's the
very cool.
yeah, the gray was a Benjamin Moore color. This is going on 5 years ago, so I don't remember it. Sorry. Um, but with this particular type of hardware, we were able to custom color the rod, and he matched the paint color to the wallpaper there, the grass cloth there. And we decided to go with like a shinier lacquered kind of finish. So I wanted to show you how we can really flex the creative muscles in terms of what can be done with hardware. So this is
Okay,
an
we'll do a close up of that.
a close up of the hardware. So you can see that the rod has it is a shinier finish, and then we did the chrome accents there. And this was
Actually, no,
also,
by comparison to the chrome, it looks matte.
it looks
I
matte, but
will take your
it's
word for it.
yeah, it does have a shiny, and this was me like up on a ladder trying to trying to get a closer look. And this was also a situation as well where in this particular installation where the crown molding came down almost touching the top of the window frame. I think it actually
Mm,
touched. So what we had to do there was because the two met, but the expanse where we were installing it was on the wall, so the center bracket was going to stick out further from the wall bracket.
right.
And when that happens, you almost create like a bow. So with
Hmm.
there, we had to do the center bracket had to have a custom return so that this way the rod would be even. So that's another thing to keep in
That's
mind.
really cool.
We can mount a bracket, a center bracket on molding, but it cannot be the same return distance. Like this distance here
Hmm.
cannot be the same on the one that's going to the wall as the one that's on the molding. So a lot of times what happens is you have to figure out how much further the molding is projecting off of the wall and do that calculation. I don't figure out that calculation. I'm very blessed. I have Billy to figure out that calculation for me. But these
We
are
figure out that calculation.
so I mean if I have to I can, but I just look at him and go, what are we doing here? So that
What's the name of this vendor?
this is
Hardware vendor?
this is Fabricant. They are out of the UK. So they everything is sourced over there. So when you are dealing with them, a lot of times you have to do it on like UK hours. So
In
yeah.
centimeters too?
Um I don't think so. But yes, I've had to do that with the Bradley collection with the wave because that is
Right.
also out of Europe. So you have to
Yep.
deal with like millimeters, centimeters, and all that good stuff. But yeah, fun times.
All right, let's keep going. So, this is a project that we just recently completed for a wonderful designer, rising star designer here in Bucks County, Newtown. Her name is Kate Lee. And this particular project was a dining room. And you see I can't go onto the hardware without talking about the draperies for just like a
Mhm.
second. And you see that this is a whole black and white kind of
Mhm. Five.
scheme, a
Mhm.
vibe for in this whole room. And she decided, and we executed the blocking technique, meaning you have one color at the top of the drapery and a different color at the bottom of the drapery. Now, I wanted to include this shot that is kind of far away from the window so you can see what the hardware looks like. Now, can you see the hardware?
No.
No, here's why you can't really see the hardware. It's acrylic
Oh.
hardware. Yes, yes. So this is the close-up of it. Okay, so I think Kim and I mentioned it before. We're going to
Mhm.
say it again. Acrylic hardware is all the rage.
Absolutely.
20 years from now, we're going to be looking at the windows and looking at the acrylic hardware and be like, yep, that was 2020 or 2019.
Yeah.
So I think it works beautifully in some situations, and in some others, I think it completely disappears. Now, in this situation, I think it really, really works. I mean, this is a just gorgeous, and we also used black brackets and black kind of
Collars.
um, color on the
Mhm.
finial,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and then the rest of it is acrylic. So the ball is acrylic, the rod is acrylic, the rings are acrylic too. And so in this whole schematic where it's a black and white and it's
Mhm.
contrast and it's kind of high and low, this acrylic rod looked absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. And just everybody was super happy. This particular hardware is from the Select line by United Supply. This is somebody who we used quite a bit. So they do produce this round in diameter rod, and they have several choices of finials, and they also have several choices of these collars and brackets. They come in black and bronze and brass, I believe. So you can look at their
Mhm.
catalog and see all the finish. There's like 4 or 5 finishes there, so depending on what's happening in your room. So
And there's one other quick thing that I want everyone to kind of take note, and I just want to confirm with you before I make my point here. Did you install the drapery hardware on the crown molding?
yes.
So again, see, you can do it. It is allowed, depending if the molding, allows for, because this is kind of a cleaner line molding. We can
Yeah.
install on the crown molding. I know, like years ago, it was like you can't interrupt the line of the
Oh, you
crown,
totally can. Yeah.
but sometimes when you don't have a choice, this is okay.
Yeah. And actually,
So,
this brings up another point that I'm kind of piggybacking on yours, and that is to
mhm,
say, even what I'm trying to say is this, that when you have the long expanse of the rod, acrylic rod, it is important to have a center support.
Oh, that was, yep.
Right, right. Yeah. So sometimes you can get away, but putting the side brackets not quite on
All the way to the end.
right. But in the center, you absolutely have to support it. Otherwise, it will bow. I mean, we've had instances on even like this is a double window. We've had short windows, like your regular single windows, 36 inches or so.
Hmm.
And we've gone back and it's like just slightly bowing, and we're like, ooh, we should probably
Hmm.
offer to to have the center support done. So I mean, the double windows 120%, but even on single windows, think about doing the center support. It's not something that customers love, it's not something that designers love. Nobody loves interrupting that whole flow of the rod. But listen, on balance, what do you want to have, a bowed rod or do you want to have a center support? I'll deal with center support to not
Yeah.
have the bow rod.
And you know what? We'll chat because I had that same point to bring up in a couple of
Oh,
slides. So,
perfect.
yep.
Okay. We'll
Okay.
go.
So I'll put that one on pause.
Yep.
Okay. So this here is an
This looks
example
familiar.
of, yes, we've used this one, but I thought it was a good opportunity to
Absolutely.
show a ceiling mounted traverse rod. So I'm going to flip this around here. So this is the rod that we used. Okay. And so it's silver.
And this is the
You can
back of it or the
This
top
is the
of
back
it.
of it.
The back of
So
it. Yep.
this is the back. Okay, and let's go to the front. So this is mounted. So this is like
Hmm.
really contemporary, and now they even have it where this is silver. This was, a couple years ago when they came out with silver. We weren't getting this part yet in the brushed nickel, but now we are. And this is for a ripple fold. A ripple fold has to go on some kind of track system. So it's either that H rail that Vita showed in the beginning or something like this. Because you see here, I'm going to come in close. These are
Hmm.
the clips that the ripple fold snap into. You're not really doing a ripple fold drape on a rod with rings. You're going to do like it's going to look like a ripple fold, but it's a ripple fold has snaps that get attached to it and all that good stuff. So this particular one is the exact one that we used in this photo here. It's silver and it can be either baton draw or cord draw. You're going to have these lovely carriers in front. Now this is an overlap where
Hmm.
the carriers meet and they overlap like this. So the with the ripple fold, it has the wave and the lead carriers are going to be flat. Now, if you look behind me here, you can see where the drape ends on either side. It's a lot of
Scooch
visuals.
down a
Yeah,
bit, Kim.
yeah.
Go. Yeah.
On either side there, you can see where the ripple fold returns back. That's called butt master. So usually when we do like a stationary kind of application, you want to either spec or have your design window treatment team spec a butt master lead carrier so it can return back, because on a stationary you don't want it to look flat. It's just going to look very strange and very odd.
Do you know
So
we've also had butt masters on functional draperies as well?
yes, yes,
Hmm.
you
Because
can do it
as
on.
the drapes go back and forth, it's to me it always feels a little odd where you have the ripple fold like nice
Mhm,
and clean and even lines,
mhm,
and they just kind of overlap. So I mean, we've done it, but we've also
yes,
done it where they go back and forth, and
yes,
they just kind of butt together, which is called the butt
yes.
master,
Master,
B-U-T-T.
UTT. And so in the picture here, you can see where the drape meets in the middle. It looks a little flat. It's
Hmm.
because it's an overlap. And at the
Right.
time, certain rods only allowed the overlap carrier. They didn't quite have, when we did this, they didn't have the Buttmaster carrier available for what we wanted. So that's a lot of things too to keep in mind, that certain rods have certain functions and you can't do this, but you can do that, and blah, and
Hmm.
so on and so forth.
Lots
So
of different variations, and the
yes.
number of combinations are in thousands. So
Yes,
it's important to keep up
absolutely.
with all of that.
Yes.
Okay, here I wanted to show the pictures, the project that we did for a wonderful designer here in Newtown. Her name is Nancy Grazia, and she owns a company called Bare Root Design Studio. This was a project that we did, I think, about a year ago, and we used flat rectangular rods. So this is just like a
Mhm.
flat rail. you can see at the top, and the rings are actually square rings. Now the picture, the way this picture was taken is kind of from the bottom looking towards the top, so it's a little bit difficult to fully appreciate the square rings,
Hmm.
even though you can see the top of them at that top of the rod. That's why I put that insert at the bottom. It's not quite the same rod, but I wanted to show you how these rings are indeed square. So you can have like a square type, more rectangular, but we'll just call it square for the
Hmm.
argument purposes. So you can have a square rod with the square rings, and they look super sleek and super cool. So if you have a situation where your customer likes the pleats and likes the rings,
Hmm.
but doesn't want to have, you know, something goopy, or maybe doesn't want to have it a little bit more updated and contemporary, this is the way to go. So keep that in mind for sure.
Yes, and these are also available in tracks. You can also do square rods like this in a track system as well,
Without the rings.
without the rings, correct.
Yep. All right.
So this here was done for a designer local here, Marissa Friedman was the designer on this project, and I this is also an acrylic rod with champagne accents. So I wanted you to kind of get a feel for this. These were just single windows, and there is a close up of the other window in the space to show you that we did not use a center bracket here. And on the
Mm,
install, yeah, we didn't have to use it because I think my widest was under 5 feet.
mm-hmm.
But a week prior to that, I did a job that was over 60 inches and we needed the center bracket because, again, it started like to what Vita's point is, it started to sag because although acrylic rods, as gorgeous as they are, the more weight you add to them, the more brackets we are going to need in order to support it. So with this particular one, the rings were the metal accents and the we just did end caps to kind of keep it clean, and the brackets also had the accents. So I don't know your thoughts on using acrylic rods, Vita, as for operating like functional drapes. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm
I
trying
know
to think
mine.
if I've ever used it. Actually, we have, and I'm going to show you a picture of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to tell you there is a difference between in my experience. Who was the company for this?
This I don't remember off the top of my head.
So the round, we use the round acrylic
Mm-hmm.
rods and the square acrylic rods. I
Yeah.
have not done the round with the functional drapes. The round ones are the ones that
They
give
flex.
in
Yeah.
more and
Then
they
the square.
flex more. So,
Mm-hmm.
but again, with the supporting bracket, with the center support, I don't necessarily see that as a problem unless you use something very, very heavy.
Yeah.
Now, how will acrylic look at the top? You know, it's interesting. I mean, I think it's possible. I do think
Yeah.
it's possible, and the more acrylic applications we have, the more we will see it. But in a slide or so, I will show you a different type of acrylic, slightly
Mm-hmm.
different acrylic rod, where those panels are indeed functional.
Yeah, but on a smaller widths, yes. But like when we're doing bigger runs, like 8 foot, you're not getting away with just doing three brackets and wanting them to draw open and close
Oh,
with
right,
the
right, right,
round.
right, right. Of
Yeah,
course,
it's
and exactly, I see what you mean now. So yeah, for
yeah,
the real wide ones, um, yeah, and plus there's no acrylic C rings that I
no,
know of. Right.
no, and
Okay. So
even
you
if you
couldn't
did,
anything wide, you really can't
yeah,
have functional
and
things.
even if you did metal C rings, like you don't want it. Just it's meant to just really be on a smaller
Just to look
window for
pretty.
function, but for prettiness, exactly.
Yeah. All right. All right. So this is the project that I was alluding to
Hmm.
just a little bit earlier. On Facebook, you can see the whole room. On Instagram, you can. I'm sorry, my picture is cutting it off, but that's just the way Instagram is set up. So we have three windows here with three pairs of drapery panels, and we have the acrylic rod that is square from the company called Brimar that is
Hmm.
spanning pretty much the entire width of that wall. Now, Brimar is a higher end of drapery
Yes.
hardware in general, and especially the acrylic hardware.
Hmm.
So there's probably at least a 50% difference between the round acrylic rods that we use and the square, sometimes even twice as much, depending like what the
Hmm.
configuration is. So here, these panels do close, so they didn't want to have any shades on the windows. And whenever they were going away, or, leaving town, they would close these drapes. This was a recent project actually that we did for a very talented designer out of Chestnut Hill. Her name is Beth Robertson of B. Robertson Interiors. And I will use this project again and again, I'm sure, because there's so many different elements to it. The pleats
Me
here are
too.
very special. There's some very special banding there at the top. There's uh, brushed fringe along the leading edge. There's a whole bunch of other things that are super special. But this is an example of using the acrylic rod where it really makes sense, because check out this wallpaper. I mean, it is
Hmm.
gorgeous. I can't tell you what the name is. I don't know. I'm not the designer. I can ask Beth. But I mean, every panel pretty much is a scene of some sorts, and it's something different. So the
Oh,
wallpaper is telling the whole story, and really it's kind of the hero of the room here. So we wanted to do as little as possible to break it up, at least at the top, because you can see that the distance between the crown molding and the windows is not that much. And we wanted to make sure that we preserve that wallpaper. So here, and the acrylic rods were perfect because they didn't obstruct the view, obstruct rather the wallpaper, and they were just
hmm.
gorgeous, very high end, beautiful gold rings and brackets and end caps. It's just, mwah, just phenomenal looking, if I can say so myself.
Okay, exactly. And the last version of the last slides that we have is kind of a little bit of a PSA. Now, these are wood finials, and this is from Byron and Byron, and this is their barnwood collection that I am very much obsessed with. And they have really great finishes, and I pulled the finish card out of my book so we can
Hmm.
see here. So here on Instagram, you see how just they're very on trend with what's going on right here on
Hmm.
Facebook. You can see here. So how pretty are these finishes? And look at the finials.
Gorgeous.
It's not your, you know, it's not the wood poles of 10 years ago that we were using with the very, like the acorn finial and that whole thing. They really have stepped up the plate. Now, this is a little bit more of a higher end option with the painted
Okay.
finishes, but I have another finish from Trend Hardware from Fabricut. You see, just as pretty. So if
Very
you want
nice.
to start using, and like you have the blues and stuff, and but look at these finishes up here, these taupey
I
kind of
love
colors.
it. I love it. This is a
So
great PSA because, for us, we tend to go to the same vendors all the time. We know their
exactly.
customer service, we know their
Hmm.
returns, we know what the good, the bad, and the ugly about them, and kind of tend to stay away from some others just because, you know what you know.
Hmm.
But we have the Byron and Byron catalog from like years ago, and now I'm going to request me a new one, and the same thing for
Yes.
Trend. So there it is. Thank you, Kim.
You could
Price
also
worth
get
of it.
Byron and Byron from Fabricut too. Like you're
Oh,
available, you can
perfect.
order.
Okay.
So you can, to, but look at this. Or like, let's think out of the box. I
I love
know
it.
metal is the jam and acrylic. I will be, you know, just a little sneak peek. I don't know when I will get around to it, but one of these finishes will be the hardware for my living room because I will be doing a wood pole in
When are
my
we doing
living.
that, Kim?
I don't know, maybe 2021, but no, hopefully by the end of the year, or else Carlos may kill me. But I am going to be doing some kind of wood uh, hardware because of the wallpaper. Hey, Lou, because of the wallpaper that's in the room, and then in the room right next to it, I will have a metal rod. So I want to break up all the metal hardware that I'm going to be having going on throughout my house. So this is just an example of the finishes. And then the next slide is a picture of what it looks like. So just see
Hmm.
how pretty it is. This is a design. This is not our work. I got this off of the Byron and Byron Instagram page. This is Catherine Reagan Designs out of the UK because Byron
Mm.
and Byron is out of the UK. So I just wanted to show you, I mean, like, never mind pleat envy, like how gorgeous are these pleats, but just look at the hardware. Look at how rich and how just over the top high end it looks. And it's just,
Hmm.
I
Very
can't
rich
get
and
enough.
luxurious, right? I mean, very
Yes,
opposite of acrylic. So talk about trends,
right.
right? How we're on two opposite sides of that.
So, but this is, again, I know this is a little darker, but right now with all the whitewash finishes that you're seeing in furniture, you have the painted and then you have this kind of brushed finish. So just take a look. Let's think out of
Love
the
it.
box.
Good job, Kim. Thanks for the PSA. Yay.
Alrighty. Alrighty, everyone. So that concludes episode number 25. And we have some free goodies for you on the WindowWorks website. We have Architectural Digest is not coming 10 things you need to know about window treatments. So if you're new to the window treatment market, or if you are buying window treatments for the first time, go over to our website and download this ebook. Luann wrote it a couple years ago, and it has some really great tips and tricks on selecting and purchasing window treatments.
And from Vitalia Inc., we also have a little gift for you. It's a free lookbook that you can download by going on vitaliainc.com. And we call it 37 and a half window treatment ideas that you can use immediately, swipe, steal, and make your own in your next design project. So if you're looking for inspiration, some motivation, some real great eye candy, there's some really wonderful ideas curated by yours truly. I tell you kind of what to pay attention to and where to look and what it means. What you're looking at. It kind of makes sense of it all.
Okay. And to keep up with all things Luann and to listen to the audio version of WTF, be sure to follow Luann on Instagram at Luann Nigara. And then on her website, you can see exactly what courses she has going on. And if you want to listen to the audio version and you hit the podcast tab, you can search WTF, and all the episodes that Vita and Luann have recorded are right there for everyone's listening.
They sure are. We actually just yesterday we recorded our newest episode, which will probably
Oh,
air
there you
in a
go.
few weeks, and it was a very different kind of episode. It was about it was a designers and window treatment people have been writing in and asking questions based on what we have been talking about on these
Mm-hmm.
WTFs and or whatever experiences they have. And they have concerns, they have questions, they're not sure about some things. And so if you are one of those people who has a question, by all means, write to Luann, write to me, and maybe, just maybe, your question will be featured and answered on one of our next episodes.
And to keep up with all things WindowWorks, be sure to follow us on Instagram at WindowWorks and on Facebook. And if you have a window treatment or awning project that you need help with selecting finishes, hardware, and whatnot, we would be happy to help you guide you through whatever your next project may be.
And also the same thing for Vitalia Inc. But if you're in the Philadelphia area, if you're Philly based, South Jersey, Delaware, Bucks County, Montgomery County, Main Line, which is where I just came from and got lost, by all means, please reach out to us. We're the type of company who really has your back, who communicates, who gives you statuses, who in a way inspires you and also really works with you as your true partner. So we are your one-stop go-to kind of resource for all things window treatment and related projects. So give us a call. Thank you so much.
And be sure to tune in, especially next Friday. We have a really fun episode in store. We're going to kind of keep it under wraps for a little bit, but we have a fun episode coming up next
I'll give a
Friday.
little
And
hint. The following day is Halloween. So hint, hint, it's going to be a special episode.
yeah, we're going to have a little bit of fun. But you want to make sure you tune in every Friday at 12 o'clock. 'Cause if it's Friday,
It's WTF Live. So thank you everybody for joining us. Thanks for your patience, and we will see you next Friday. Bye bye.
bye. Have a great weekend.